Hallo allemaal, welkom luisteraars bij de podcast. Hallo allemaal, welkom luisteraars bij de podcast Rustig Strategie. Mijn naam is Meert van Nijssen, ik ben ondernemerspsycholoog en vandaag heb ik een hele speciale gast. Hij komt helemaal over vanuit Amerika, online, dat is het voordeel van online werken. Michael Freeman is our joining guest today. So that's why I switched to English. And first of all, welcome, Michael.
Thank you.
It's morning for you today on a Friday. It's over here evening. And my podcast is Rustig Strategie. It's for the mission-driven founders who are ready to scale not only their companies, but especially themselves back to their mission, back to the fire you're talking, the fire within. I work with the founders who already built something real. They have something big, but they're starting to feel all the costs of it. Founders who are driven, ambitious, and quietly running on empty. And that's what I see again and again. And the company grows, the revenue grows, and the team grows. But the founder, the person who started, is a little bit disappearing. Not dramatically, but slowly. And by the time they notice, they already cost them their health, their relationship, their love for what they built. And today's conversation is exactly about it. And my guess is someone whose research gives a scientific foundation of what I do in the daily basis. Dr. Michael Freeman is a psychiatrist, an executive coach, and a serial entrepreneur himself. And a clinical professor, not forget to mention, at the UC San Francisco. And he's one of the first researchers in the world to scientifically map out founder psychology, actually how it looks like and what it costs. Michael, welcome again.
Thank you so much. Pleasure to be with you.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. It's an honor. Can you introduce yourself a little bit more? Maybe I forgot something.
I think you hit the relevant highlights. I'm a psychiatrist, but also a serial entrepreneur, and I come from a family of entrepreneurs as well, which is not uncommon. Mm-hmm. And the emotional roller coaster that you just described that entrepreneurs often experience, something I've experienced myself as well. And I try to help people navigate that journey. It's a very emotional journey being an entrepreneur. My colleagues at University of California and I have done a lot of research on entrepreneur mental health, and we have published a number of articles about this as well. We're trying to expand awareness of mental health issues that entrepreneurs face so that people can not lose themselves in the process of creating this big, beautiful vision that, entrepreneurs want to launch.
Yeah. And do you think they recognize it already in the USA?
We've been doing this for 10 years now. Mm-hmm. And I think over the last 10 years, people have become increasingly aware of the mental health issues that entrepreneurs face. We still have a long way to go, but it is more recognized. People discuss it openly at conferences and in media outlets. And I think entrepreneurs amongst themselves also have begun to pay attention.
Okay, because you work with them as well?
I do. I still have about 10 hours a week of practicing psychiatry, and it's with entrepreneurs. So, yep, all day long I hear about it.
Perfect. And have you recognized the roller coaster of the entrepreneurship yourself as well?
Yes, I have. Mm-hmm. It's partially because entrepreneurs have different kind of minds than most people. It really is a very distinct group that has a different kind of psychology and also a different kind of brain chemistry. And the brain chemistry and the psychology are related to differences in the processing and the functioning of a neurotransmitter called dopamine that's associated with reward seeking and goal engagement. And kind of as a consequence of that, people who are entrepreneurs in general tend to overreact emotionally,
Mm-hmm.
uh, which means that they can experience good news seems better than it really is, and bad news seems worse than it really is. And that drives a lot of this roller coaster experience.
Yeah, and the dopamine of the rewards.
Yes, not only that, but it's related to personality traits.
Mm-hmm.
So the entrepreneurs have personalities that are kind of unique. They tend to be energetic, motivated, outgoing, social. They tend to be comfortable in positions of leadership and have a lot of enthusiasm. Also, open minded, creative, curious, innovative, um, willing to,
Resilience,
I'm sorry,
resilience also, right?
resilient. Yes,
Of
very much
resilience.
so.
Yeah.
More than average, more than
Mm-hmm.
average. And so because they're resilient, more than average resilience, when entrepreneurs do begin to collapse internally, you know it's not good
No.
because the other people would have begun to implode long ago, and so you can get to the tipping point, and that's when some of these mental health problems begin to um, become problematic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And what is the point, you think?
The point is that you can win the battle and lose the war. That entrepreneurs get can be very engaged in achieving a goal, and they can become so overly engaged in whatever it is that they're trying to accomplish that they forget to take care of themselves along the way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then they experience burnout.
Yeah. And in my experience, they feel the physical symptoms first, and then they try everything. Better sleep, sports is always a good idea, of course. But they don't used to work with their psychological aspects of it. What is your opinion about it, or your thoughts?
I think that's often it's often the case that it's eventually people begin to develop self-awareness,
Mm-hmm.
um, but starting the journey with more self-awareness is a way of kind of immunizing yourself against stress later on.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. And do you see some? You described a certain personality traits that
Hmm.
drives entrepreneurial success, but can also derail a founder, right?
Absolutely. And most businesses do fail.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so one of those personality traits is optimism. Every almost everybody that starts a business knows going in that the most likely outcome is failure. And yet, if you ask entrepreneurs, they will tell you, yes, that's true on average, but it's not going to be the situation for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so that optimism can get in the way of understanding realistically what your circumstances are.
Yeah, indeed. And is there a specific moment in the founder's journey you think what the research tells us about the personality traits that there has a tipping point, that it's from positive going firing backwards to that?
Not exactly. it can happen at any stage of the journey.
Mm-hmm.
At the very beginning, from getting from 0 to 1 is highly stressful. But then when you do get from 0 to 1, then you have to finance growth, and that's very stressful. And
Mm-hmm.
then when you do finance growth, then you have to build and actually prove that your business thesis actually works. And that's also very stressful. So it can happen at any stage. I know in your podcast, you talk about the scale up stage as being particularly challenging, and it is very challenging.
Mm-hmm.
Growth is very, very difficult. Going from having a small team to a medium sized team to a big team is unfamiliar and uncomfortable, I think, for a number of business founders. And the level of responsibility and accountability can become overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, that is a hard, but the roller coaster can happen at any time. And then when businesses fail, that is an emotional crisis for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
when businesses succeed, that's also an emotional crisis for a lot of people.
I know what you mean, but can you give that a little bit of background?
When businesses fail, it has it's not uncommon to see people experience depression when
Mm-hmm.
a business fails. Entrepreneurs are different from people who have jobs in that someone who has a job goes home at the end of the day and has a life
Mm-hmm.
and takes the weekend off and goes on holiday.
Yeah, indeed. Some entrepreneurs go on a holiday too.
It's not a bad idea. Yes. Yes. Um, but that doesn't really apply for a lot of entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
And as a result, your identity as a person gets all confused with your business. It's people lose track of the boundary between I'm a person who likes to build companies and I have a hypothesis that want to test. That's a healthy way to look at it, but a lot of people lose sight of that and focus more on this is who I am, this is what I do, this is what gives me a sense of purpose, this is what gives me a sense of meaning. And then when a business fails, it's their purpose is gone, the sense of meaning is gone, the identity kind of crumbles, and it can result in a feeling of loss and a feeling of disorientation that's greater than would be the case for someone who lost a job, for example. If you lose a job, you go find another job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If you
Yeah,
lose a
there.
company, it's like you, you have to, you grieve for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah, you lose yourself, eh?
You lose yourself, you lose your
Yeah.
identity,
Yeah.
you lose your ego. Some people feel sense of shame and embarrassment
Mm-hmm.
about that. Um, Others feel low self-esteem and self-doubt. It's a hard situation, but the reverse is also true. If a company succeeds, pretty soon the entrepreneurs no longer enjoy what they're doing because
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneurs are kind of best, often the startup founders are best with innovation and with product development and product launching. When a company has 3 or 4 levels and accountability and policies and procedures and um, the behavior, the options, the the role of the entrepreneur becomes more and more constrained. That also becomes uncomfortable, and that's when a lot of entrepreneurs choose to exit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because a lot of entrepreneurs, I speak to, they tell me, I'm a builder. I built something, and now I have to become a manager of.
And they don't want to manage. Yeah.
No, they're a leader. They have a mission. They have a vision, and they want to build it, build the foundation. Yeah, indeed.
So then you leave. It sounds like you built something. You find a way to exit. Sounds good, but it's also not good because
Mm-hmm.
then once again, the entrepreneurs can feel lonely, can feel lost and adrift. They fail to appreciate how central the company and how central that role of being the CEO was to their identity. And so that requires an adjustment as well.
Mm-hmm. Are they aware that this is the problem, or that this is happening to them? That there's identity?
Often, no. Often,
No.
no. People think about exit is a good outcome
Mm-hmm.
financially
Mm-hmm.
without anticipating what's going to mean on a personal level.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a black gap, we say in Holland. They fall into, and they start doing all the things in the house, painting a wall, the garden, and going on a new sport, and then they suddenly sit at a couch and they think, "What am I doing here? I'm an
Yes,
entrepreneur, and I'm sitting here right now." Yeah,
yes.
indeed.
And then sometimes people begin to think, what business do I want to start next?
Yeah.
They forgot that they got so stressed out and burned out the last time around that
Mm-hmm.
they were planning to take a break. And that's how entrepreneurship can become an addiction.
Mm-hmm.
People who, addiction means you need more and more and more to get the same effect.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't, whatever it is you're addicted to, if you don't have it, you withdraw. And people can feel addicted to entrepreneurship as well and go through this withdrawal period and they start to crave.
Mm-hmm. And what can they do about it?
The, the same way you manage all of the addictions, you have to
Mm-hmm.
recenter.
Mm-hmm.
You have to um, learn to be at peace
Mm-hmm.
in the present, regardless of the circumstances, and regain freedom of choice about the way you want to conduct yourself going
Yeah.
forward.
And
Starting
how?
starting a business should be a choice, not a coping strategy for coping with boredom or coping with loneliness.
Yeah, as a thrill seeking, huh? In the
Yeah,
yeah, indeed. And are there any early warning signs we can tell with the entrepreneurs that someone is operating throughout the system and they're not aware of?
I would say one early warning sign is lack of pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you if you're not enjoying every day, if you feel burdened and weary and tired and fatigued, um, if you feel like it takes a lot of effort to do what you need to do, if you're not enthusiastic but just kind of going through the motions, that's an early warning sign of burnout.
Mm-hmm.
Another early warning sign is becoming disconnected from other people. Humans are a gregarious species. We need people,
Mm-hmm.
and entrepreneurs tend to be even more gregarious and outgoing and extroverted. But when you begin to enter that zone of burnout, entrepreneurs can withdraw from relationships and feel cynical and feel disconnected, even feel resentful of people and develop, you know, anger and, you know, show anger and
Irritability. Yeah.
irritability, hostility. Yeah. So um, I think that's also a warning sign. Um, you can get warning signs from people around you, friends, family, customers, suppliers, investors, begin to give you signals, and either you pay attention or you don't. But
Mm-hmm.
if you do pay attention, I would say people who love you, not because of your business, but because of who you are.
Mm-hmm.
If they're telling you important things, slow down and listen.
Yeah, yeah, it's the best advice. And most of the times I hear I have a lack of motivation for my company. Most of the
Yes,
times it's the
that's a
first warning sign too. Yeah.
yes, big. It's a big warning sign. Apathy,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
loss of motivation, and that has a ripple effect when your team, when your employees, and other people in your ecosystem notice that you don't seem to care as much. It
Mm-hmm.
affects the um, attitudes of everybody that you're connected to.
Mm-hmm. And it also affects the team you're working with, right? And the
Affects
company,
affects the team. Yeah.
all layers of your entrepreneurship. Yeah.
Yes. The reverse is also true. That when you're enthusiastic and excited, that it affects the team in a positive way.
Mm-hmm. And is there a difference when entrepreneurs are familiar in the family with entrepreneurs? Or sometimes I speak to entrepreneurs who are the first entrepreneur in their family and they found themselves more of a turtle over a unicorn in their family. Is there a difference, you think?
Yes, there is. Um, um, Many entrepreneurs grow up with either one or both parent being self-employed,
Mm-hmm.
and so it seems normal. Um, Only, well, it's actually a big number in in industrialized countries, in Europe and the United States, um, in Canada, New Zealand, Israel, about 10 to 15% of working people are self-employed. That means 85 to 90% are not. That means 85 to 90% of people have jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And so the idea of being self-employed is kind of unusual in many families. But the entrepreneurs are more likely to come from families where one or both parents were self-employed, and so they have an example of what that looks like. Not only that, but there may be a genetic component to it as well.
Mm-hmm. Because of the personality trait, right?
Hmm. And so the parents who are self-employed have the personality traits that get passed on to the children, and
Mm-hmm.
so it all kind of it's there's a lot of synergy there.
Yeah, and maybe they found support when one of the parents is an entrepreneur themselves.
That's
But
right. They're not criticized for it.
yeah, but there also a lot of shame when it doesn't work in their own entrepreneurship because their parents are so successful and they're not sure, they're not that successful maybe, or they are that successful too, but they're not sure if that's really their own mission. Is that something you?
There, yes, there's a lot. There can be a lot to work out with
Mm-hmm.
with issues like that. It also depends a little on the culture.
Mm-hmm.
In some cultures, if your business fails, people have a lot of feel embarrassed about that. Do feel a sense of shame.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Japan, for example, I've
Mm-hmm.
seen a lot of that. Also in Germany, that can happen. And other cultures, it's kind of expected that you're going to fail.
Mm.
It's failing is part of succeeding.
Okay.
I live in Silicon Valley. That's how people think. Failing is
Yeah,
part of succeeding. It's a learning curve.
yeah, yeah. And that's a different start when you start from something that you have to be successful, or that failure is needed to grow, right?
It's normalized, yes.
Yeah, indeed. And do you think investors um, look at the founder psychology, or do take it a lot in perspective when they invest, or is it more like
Not
the
as much as you
normal
would.
numbers? No.
No, not as much as you would think. Investors, well, it depends on what kind of investor. But
Mm-hmm.
on average, I would say no.
Okay.
Investors are most interested in how likely is this business to succeed? Does the founder and CEO have the skills and knowledge necessary to grow a business? How strong is the team? They have criteria like that,
Mm-hmm.
and the entrepreneur psychology doesn't particularly factor into it. Some investors are now encouraging entrepreneurs to take care of themselves more, and they're offering things like support groups and you know coaching and other kinds of uh, you know resources to help you maintain your mental health.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of investment decisions, I don't think that that's really a consideration.
And I think that's a very big opportunity for them, right? To take that into consideration. The psychological due diligence, for example.
It you That's a wish.
Yeah.
Um, that's a wish, but uh, I think investors look at return on investment,
Mm-hmm.
and unless somebody can prove that every dollar that you spend on entrepreneur well-being turns into 10 more dollars on your bottom line,
Mm-hmm.
I, it's not so easy to sell that concept internally with
Yeah.
investors.
Yeah. But we also know that the founder is the foundation of the entrepreneurship, right? And I think there's coming a lot of more research on that topic.
There is a lot of research, increasing amount of research, which is great.
Yeah.
However, investors have diversified portfolios,
Mm-hmm.
which means that a typical investor might have anywhere from 30 to 100 entrepreneurs in
Mm-hmm.
their portfolio. And if 10% succeed, the portfolio is fine.
Okay. Yeah.
So the welfare of any one individual entrepreneur is not, unfortunately, it should be, in my opinion, but
Yeah.
it's not really the highest driving priority.
No. Because of they have a lot of entrepreneurships on their portfolio. So if one succeeds, that's fine.
Yeah, if 10% succeed, they are doing very well.
Yeah. Okay. And what do you think of the research? What is still missing?
What's still missing in research?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, with the founder psychology of all the things
Yeah, I
we
think what's
know, but mm-hmm.
well, there's a lot missing in research, and
Mm-hmm.
which is good because it means um, we have a lot to learn and a lot to discover.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think, but specifically, there's clinical research. There are a lot of unanswered questions. Ecosystem research has a lot of unanswered questions. Policy research, research on um, cost benefit analysis
Mm-hmm.
of mental health services for entrepreneurs has not particularly been done. So we need more researchers.
Mm-hmm.
There's some good ones in the Netherlands too.
Yeah, but we also, as a scientific people, we also have the assumption that we don't know what we don't know, right?
Yeah,
So there's
that's
always more research to do.
Yes, but specifically, I think um, intervention research has not even, we're just beginning to
Mm-hmm.
study mental health interventions for entrepreneurs. Um, Cost benefit analysis has not been done for entrepreneur mental health. Um, and there's basic science research, the brain differences of entrepreneurs. We have a preliminary understanding of that, but there's more to understand there as well.
And is there something they can change, do you think? Because sometimes
Yes,
they, okay,
definitely. Otherwise,
definitely.
otherwise, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing.
No, because sometimes
Entrepreneur,
they think I am who I am, right? This is who I am. This is how I do my job, my entrepreneurship. This is how I do my life. But what do you
well,
think?
I think I think entrepreneurs are able to try new things and change. They're actually more flexible than most people.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's true that they're always going to be, their basic personality is pretty, it's like 50% hardwired, 50% genetically transmitted, and the other 50% you can evolve over time and within your environment.
Mm-hmm.
So entrepreneurs can learn how to take breaks, can learn how to pursue personal restoration, can learn how to adopt a couple of activities that are rewarding that are not related to work. And they can learn how to be more emotionally intelligent. They can learn different ways of leadership. They can learn self care skills. They can learn better sleep hygiene. Now, there's a lot that people can do.
Yeah. Okay. And you said find some other things that identify you as a person, not only as an entrepreneur.
Yes, because you are not your job at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. No, you're more than that, right? Yeah.
Yes.
And if someone who's listening at this moment and recognize themselves in your story, in your symptoms, in your traits, what is the first thing that you will tell them to do?
Um, Talk to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to a friend. If you're married, talk to your partner. If you're in a committed long-term love relationship, um, join a support group. A lot of entrepreneurs are in support groups with other entrepreneurs. I think that's the first thing. Um, Change your lifestyle a little bit uh, to take some breaks and refresh so that you don't burn out.
Mm-hmm.
If you have real mental health symptoms like anxiety or depression or panic attacks, or if you're starting to use drugs or alcohol as a way of coping, if you have insomnia, get professional help, talk to a therapist. But
Yeah.
entrepreneurs actually can be pretty good about seeking help because they seek help from a lot of people. Entrepreneurs have like an accountant and a strategy person
Sales person.
and a lawyer and
Mm-hmm.
investors and coaches. So uh, they have a personal support team, and just add a coach or a therapist into your team, and that could go a long way too.
Yeah, also for your mind, right? Because I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs and they say, when I'm gonna work with you, it doesn't sell, it doesn't give a return of investment immediately. Um, what
Well,
would you reply on that?
you you water your garden for all year long, and you get the flowers and the fruit. The flowers come out in spring, and the fruit comes out in summer. Sometimes it's not immediate return on investment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. So hopefully this rich conversation that you brought up with the scientific data and all the concrete examples of your work are a wake-up call for the founders who recognize themselves into your examples of daily life entrepreneurship. Is there something we haven't discussed about your work, your famous work of the fire within?
I would say for people who are listening to this podcast, it's just worth knowing that in the Netherlands, in Europe, in the United States and elsewhere, there's an increasing number of researchers that are interested in helping to find solutions for this problem. But I think what we talked about is most important. Just take care of yourself and think about mental health and well-being as sort of essential infrastructure for entrepreneurship. It's not a luxury. It's essential. It's the core building block. Without that, everything else begins to deteriorate. So I would say high level, those are really the important messages.
Okay, so you need someone for your mental health as well as necessary.
To avoid being isolated, it's funny that entrepreneurs talk to people all day long and yet they feel lonely. Mm-hmm. And so finding a way out of that loneliness, which typically involves having real relationships with real people, not role relationships with customers, suppliers, and employees, is a big piece of it.
So as a person yourself, you mean, right?
Yes.
Not as an entrepreneur or leader or manager or something else. Yeah. Okay.
And you started this conversation by talking about mission. Mm-hmm. And I know people who listen to the podcast are very aligned with their mission. Mm-hmm. And that's can also be a helpful frame of orientation, because you're not going to accomplish that mission if you burn out in the process. Mm-hmm. And so if you reframe mental health as a way of staying aligned with your overall intention to succeed at accomplishing a mission, it's easier to make time for it.
Wow. Yeah, so perfect. Yeah. Okay. I think that's the last line, because we have to finish. This is a perfect ending, right? Of the podcast.
All right.
I think. Yeah, thank you very much. I will wrap it up for my listeners. Michael Freeman was in de show. En ik hoop dat jullie echt heel erg hebben genoten van het wetenschappelijke ondersteuning van het ondernemerschap. En dat jullie ook jullie missie weer kunnen gaan voelen vanuit... Ik zeg ook heel vaak, je bent on fire. Blijf on fire, want anders dan mis je je missie. En dat is volgens mij de reden waarom je de hele ondernemerschap bent begonnen. En je bent meer dan alleen je onderneming, dus zorg ook goed voor jezelf. Bedankt voor het luisteren. Ik zal in de show notes een korte samenvatting geven en een manier waarop je mij kan bereiken. Oké, dank voor het luisteren. Hallo allemaal, welkom luisteraars bij de podcast. Hallo allemaal, welkom luisteraars bij de podcast. Hallo allemaal, welkom luisteraars bij de podcast. Hallo allemaal, welkom luisteraars bij de podcast.